welcome back to the Off Scot Free podcast. We decided today that because this podcast is supposed to be an archival kind of thing for us to look back on, and Atlas is a creative.
Yes.
That...
Tis I am.
Yeah. All things considered, if we continue doing this for a long, long time, like our plan is to keep continuing it for a long, long time, every creative project from here on out will be documented, the process of creating it and putting it out there, which means that everything before now doesn't have any sort of documentation on this podcast. Mm-hmm. And so I was talking to Atlas earlier today, and I said, I think it could be a really cool episode idea for us to just kind of break down all of your creative projects throughout the years, whether that's because he went to school for film, mm-hmm. So you had a lot of collegiate projects that you had to do, mm-hmm. But he had his own like personal things that he did in high school and also for your film class in high school, mm-hmm. right? His drums, how his passion for drums came to be, and the amount of drum videos he's done up to this point, as well as his music, his Annex B, when that started, why he started making music, and just kind of backtracking and going through all of it. And because Atlas is the way that he has a lot of this already kind of like accumulated in a Google sheet.
Yes, I do.
Because that's the type A kind of person that he is. But,
hello.
Yes. So.
Type Atlas.
Yeah. So I thought that it would be cool for us to kind of recap his career, and maybe potentially as we're going through this, we can kind of link where you could go watch said things that we're talking about if they're posted, because a lot of them are not.
That's very true. Very
okay.
true.
So I thought first we could start with your films before you got to a professional place. So I guess everything before college. So, yeah, go ahead. What made you start? What was your first film that you did? We'll work our way up, and what made you find your passion for it, I think, is where I want to start there.
So, I started filming very early. I'm trying to sort this real quick. I started filming very early in my career. Started when I was about 7 or 8 years old. And I started because I wanted to act, actually. I think that's one fact that most people don't know, that I am an actor first, technically. But because, when you start at 8 years old, most, if not all, your friends don't actually know how to use a camera or editing or
make a story.
Or know that video exists, for that matter, especially when I was 8, which was 2009 at this point. Mm-hmm. And so I was gracious enough to have family, specifically to have a dad that bought a flip video camera. And
shout out Flip.
Yeah, shout out Flip Video. Used that for a bit. And then went in halvesies with my dad on like a little Panasonic Handycam type thing, and used that to my heart's content. And
from ages what to what did you have that Handycam? I
had that cam for a bit, probably from I can do it by grades better than age. From probably like 4th or 5th grade, really 5th grade, up until I really only switched to Sony around freshman year of high school, I'd say.
So you had it for like 3 or 4 years.
Good amount. It got damaged a bit because it's just used a lot, but overall it technically still works, still have it. I just don't use it because it's not a great camera anymore, relatively as technology progressed. But I really only started, this is the funny part, I really only started writing scripts in high school. I would just get a camera and just start creating. I'd be like, friends, let's come and make a film.
Let's just go with it.
Let's do the thing, and it shows. There's no rhyme or reason to a lot of the films, but one of those film series is what we called, or what I called, the Random series. This was in the time of like Smosh and to like Tomska and all that stuff, and I wanted to do iCarly, and I wanted to do something like that, like random dancing, and I was like, I'll use random as a thing, and it was like a bunch of films that weren't good. But there was this one series called Random Space Wars, which was about a part of that series, and I used my friend Alexander Vandera and we created 3 films. Like I said, still not. We're in middle school.
Scripted.
None of it was scripted. None of it was planned at all. It was like I just wanted to like do something that was like action based.
It was like playing Barbies, but it was just you guys and a camera.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The
Just
boy
coming up with it, riffing,
improv boy version of crocheting, if you will. And so we made 3 films, and then I just kind of let it go. But I kind of had I had like a action nonverbal story in my head for it. I just never finished it. We made 3 parts, and then we just kind of stopped making them. And then like freshman year came around, then I started to get more into professional filmmaking. Literally learned that you can make money off of making films, off of videos specifically.
When did you start taking classes for?
I started taking classes in middle school.
Okay.
Technically 7th grade was when they allowed my age group to do things.
Yeah.
Actually, that's not true. There was this thing called like, I forget what the name was. It was like a creative class. It was very general. But one of the parts of it was video, and I think that was 6th grade. Okay. 5th or 6th grade, something like that. And I actually went into that because I got rejected by the drum line of my high school in 5th grade, because I tried out in 5th grade to get into the 6th grade band for drumline specifically. I guess they call it percussion, but really drumline is what I wanted. And they said no, which is funny for where I'm at.
Worst decision they ever made in their life.
I'll never know why they really didn't choose me. Not in like I was so great. Like I wasn't great. I wasn't a good percussionist relative to now. But I did have some experience under my belt, so I was a little confused as to why. Didn't matter. It did shift me to be way more film centric than I would have been percussion centric, which kind of it's a weird one of those butterfly effects of like, if I had gotten into this wouldn't have happened. Mm-hmm. It's true. I totally think that was a God thing. I'm glad I didn't go into percussion, because I could not use that to make money, honestly, at least not substantially, at least the way that I do it now. And so I went into that class in 6th grade, and then 7th grade and 8th grade, there was like AV production. And then in 9th grade was this kind of the same thing, just like a little level up. And these classes weren't necessarily extremely in-depth. I really wanted more. And since I had started so early, I felt very advanced. And keyword felt. Debatably advanced, but relatively compared to everybody else in the class that were just trying to get the credit. I was like, I wanted to make real films and stuff like that. I had that artistic mindset. And so I had that, and I was able to do a lot more with the professional films that I was contracted to do. And really from probably sophomore to junior year, I was able to upgrade my gear pretty significantly, and able to figure out what scripts were and how to write a script, or how to start writing a script, and maybe not how to write a script. And I got to a point where I had my friend Charlie Story. He asked me one day in junior year of like the fall semester of junior year of my high school career, he was like, yo, like we gotta like make a movie. And he wanted to like star in it, as was most of my, actually that's not true. A lot of people wanted to, just because movies is such like a catch-all term. People were like, I can make a movie. I'm like, can make a movie and can make a good movie are two different things.
I want to be famous.
It's an interesting thing to be skilled in. But he was like, I want to be on film. I'm like, all right, cool. Well, let's get you on film, because I like making movies. And so he threw out the idea of making a part 4 to Random Space Wars, the series that I made back in middle school. And I was like, sure. And so from my now a couple years of experience of writing films, I was like, what if I could take whatever very thin plot line I had in Random Space Wars Part 1 to 3 and make a 4th part of it. And so that's what I did. I wrote a whole lore thing for for that series, and we made that film, and it took a while. Took way too long than it should have. And then we made a part 5 to that, because part 4 was supposed to be the end, but because of timing, it couldn't be, for a lot of reasons. And then part 5 came through, and that was when my character, Security Guard 318, which was unnamed at the time, was introduced, because I didn't want to talk to the camera as me, because I knew to be a good spokesman, I couldn't be the character that I chose to be in real life, which is weird to say, but it's true. And so I let that character 318 be that spokesman for me instead of asking somebody else to do it. And so that was junior year of high school, and that was
the start of 318.
Yeah, that was the start of 318 officially. Unofficially and officially, because he still didn't have a name. If you look at the credits, there's not a 318 name yet. It does eventually come through, eventually, but not then. And wrapping that up with part 5, I wanted to get more deep. I found that, especially in my high school career, I would flip-flop between straight drama and straight comedy. I'd be pretty binary with it. And so I went straight drama this time, with a movie called Fine, which was about, technically loosely based on my experience with grief. And I wrote it for a class, one of my AV classes in junior year, or senior year, sorry. Got to get out of that year. We're in senior year at this point. I forget about that. Yeah. And that was fun. I don't know how much you want me to go in depth on these ones.
I mean,
there's just a few.
Fine. When I've seen all of these, by the way, because I am his wife, and we have, dug deep into all of it. But Fine was one of those ones where it was like, if you actually knew what was going on in Atlas's head at the time, then there were a lot of undertones written throughout the entire story of kind of asking for a hand, kind of asking for some help, kind of asking for hey, it may look like I've got it together, but I kind of don't, and I think that kind of comes out when you're a creative, just the way that you're actually feeling, you can't help it. It just kind of seeps out through the pores of all that you make, which I think is something really cool. But it's also something that can make you feel a little bit isolated when you feel like you're putting it all out there and people are like, that's a great story you just came up with,
Yeah.
Instead of being like, hey, maybe I should question how he, got to that place to make something like that. So.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so there's Fine.
From there, I utilized my senior project to make I'll Stay, which was a continuation of Fine. Fine was like a concept dream thing, and I'll Stay was more lore-based of what Fine was. And so I did that, and that took a bit. It took a whole semester to make. And there's that one. And in between, I was making cheerleading videos. I was making cross-country videos. I was making football videos.
Because at a certain point, you got into the business aspect of things.
Yeah, very accidentally, for the record. I my dad's very smart with this, and he wanted very independent children. And although we full transparency, we did live in Highland Park, Texas, and we weren't
had it pretty good.
We were good.
Yeah.
The more I live this life, the more I see more people, the more I realize how much better my life was, at least funding-wise, versus everybody else's. Doesn't solve everything, but it does solve a lot of problems. And he made it a point that he wasn't going to buy me everything. By all of my siblings, including myself, everything that we wanted. He was very, very loving. It wasn't no, you don't get to get anything. You have to buy everything yourself. It's no, he would love to give gifts. But when it came to this kind of stuff, he was a good starter investor. But as I grew and as I was able to get my own money, I was able to buy my own gear. And at that time, I never really felt good about asking them to buy gear for me. So I just saw the opportunity in front of me to make money off of film, so I could just continue on to upgrade gear and everything. It wasn't making a ton of money, but it was making significant funds, so I could upgrade my gear in different ways. And during that was like wanting to do narrative fiction while also trying to make a career out of this. It was a whole bunch of things. It was interesting overall. Yeah. But in that time, in junior and senior year of high school, I was starting to getting into making the scores for my films, which got me into music production. I didn't know how to play the piano. I didn't know how to really play anything except drums. And so I chose to, like, I taught myself, pretty terribly, I'd say, but taught myself. My sister left her electric keyboard, like her Yamaha keyboard, behind. It was like this little plastic thing. I think I still have it. But I stole it, which is me just taking it from her room, which she wasn't in at the time because she was in college, and put it in my, at the time was the back house, also known as the Annex, which was like a separate house from the house, which was really nice. Every time I look back and I'm like, the amount of blessing I had just to have that was insane. And so I put that next to me, and I was like, basically told myself, you don't have to play this at all, but I will have this here plugged into the computer so that whenever you want to play on it, you can. And so I did. I started to like teach myself certain songs. I got a lot of inspiration from 21 Pilots. I had the keyboard next to me, and I utilized it a lot going into a program called Logic Pro X. And I used that program, the free trial of it, actually, to figure out that 21 Pilots, specifically Tyler Joseph, used a lot of presets from Logic Pro X, and I wanted to see if you could use that, and you could. A lot of research went into that. And then for Random Space Wars Part 4, that was the first film I scored fully, and I did that for Part 5 as well. The beginning song for Part 5 is not mine. It's actually technically somebody else's. It's like a stock free thing, but everything after the explanation it's called Random Space Wars an Explanation. It's my music, and I fell really in love with expressing myself through the music and also through the films. And Fine was kind of the epitome of like expressing myself through music and film kind of coalescing together. And then I'll Stay was the continuation of Fine, and that was just even a more grandiose scale of lore and self-expression through music and film. And I found a lot of comfort in that, which I thought was really cool. And then we get out of high school and into my gap year, and not a lot happens in the gap year, but a lot happens in the gap year. That's the funnier part. Yeah. Number of projects, not a lot. Still did a couple projects for some Highland Park families for my film business, which was already tapering off. It's funny because I don't really like sports, but that's all I did when it came to film. Yeah. And then there's this guy called Tom Land who asked me to be in this band with this guy called David Archibald and Josias Alvarado. David, I'm still very good friends with to this day. Tom, not so much. Josias, not so much. But we started to create on this project that he was writing, and it was called Gatsby with a P, which I didn't agree with. But that's besides the point. It was my project. And so I helped him with creating a music video called Crazy Tonight, which I actually think still looks pretty visually awesome for what we had. And then kept on going from there with some other music videos of his, from a song like Hope I'll Find Love Tonight, and then Hold Me Close. And then like a pilot episode for a web series he was trying to develop. But then I realized he was wanting me to do all the production, and I was like, no, you're not paying me. That's a lot of time, and I'd rather do other things. And so we just kind of parted ways. And I have no idea what he's doing now. And so doing all of that, and then more in-depthly, in the summer of 2020, when now all the COVID stuff was happening, my friend Jack Tansey and we created a film, or we wrote a film called Black Box, because I told him I was like not happy that my last film was so depressing. And I also didn't like that my favorite film that I had ever made was Random Space Wars Part 5. It's a very dumb movie, in my opinion. But it was fun. It's at least fun for me to watch.
Oh, Willow.
Willow just fell.
Poor girl. She was trying to get behind the blinds. Come here. I got you.
Little
Poor
baby
girl.
little baby girl. She's like, I couldn't get it open in time. And there's like no traction on that, so.
Poor girl. I think she hit her jaw.
I think you're right. She's like, yeah.
This is such a chaotic episode with the cat.
That's tough.
Oops. Okay, back to it.
But I was I was creating this concept film black box with Jack because of my discontentment with what I had created so far, because I thought I was better than that. And I believe I was right, because black box was better. But it took a summer and nobody was doing anything. So I just kind of called on all my friends and called a bunch of favors. And since nobody was doing anything, a lot of people said yes. And we created the film, and we wrote the outline in a week, wrote the script in a day, like basically like a 24-hour stint. And then we just shot everything, and then did some reshoots the next year, and then premiered it in 2021 December. And it was cool. It was fun. It was the first technical feature-length film I've ever done. It's 55 minutes, and so I don't believe it to be a feature-length film. I call it a TV episode. But it is a cool achievement, and I think for what it was very awesome. A ton of learning that I was able to learn through that experience.
It was crazy too, because we just watched Black Box recently.
Yeah.
You hadn't seen it in a couple years, and
Yeah.
I saw it last year, but we had never watched it together, and we kind of broke down that. We actually have a video of us watching that, which will be posted to our YouTube channel at some point eventually.
We'll see.
It may be linked. I don't know. However,
it's gonna take a bit to edit.
But it's really interesting to see. You can see all the things that Atlas is really strong at in the black box production, and things that he was like weaker at. But it's also like you have to keep in mind when you're watching it. It's like this kid has zero professional experience. Literally comes from a high school level education.
Yeah.
Didn't have any connections to actual actors or actresses or crews.
The gear was prosumer level. It wasn't anything professional. All crew was Jack and I.
Yep. Literally everything in that movie was...
It should have been a lot worse than it was.
Him directing and shooting and...
editing, writing, sometimes acting in it as well.
And making the score for it. Yeah. It's actually insane the way that it turned out with it just being... two guys behind the scenes.
Well, it was one of those moments. It was like, it was helpful to know where the end of me was for doing all of it. And I didn't do all of it, obviously. There was people in front of the camera, but it was like majority of the production was on my shoulders. And from that point on, I was like, I need to figure out delegation. And I didn't know how to do that. And UNT helped me a lot with that. Not nearly as much as I wanted to because of my issue with letting go of control. But it definitely helped a ton. To give more delegation, give more power to other people so I could focus on what mattered most. And the biggest note that people gave me on the premiere, even on the day sometimes, some of the people were like, great movie, get better actors. Yeah. Most people, if anybody ever gave me any advice, it was the acting that people were like...
And it's like, well, yeah, obviously, it's you asking favors of people that you know
for sure.
who have little to no acting experience.
It was helpful that was the note, though, you know?
Yeah.
And probably the easiest note to give, because that's what most people can pinpoint what is wrong with the movie, because they can't be like, well, like the audio from here to here, it didn't really feel right, and there was too many decibels. Like, they're not going to talk like that. They're gonna be like, it was either felt good or felt bad. And I know the acting was good or bad. Like, that's usually what people can talk about, or VFX. And even then, most people can't really talk about that in confidence. And so, but that was Black Box. I thought that was a really fun time. And now we can get to transition into UNT.
Which I think we can come back to that in a second. I want to go back and touch on some other things from your years before college. We don't have this written down as something to talk about, but I also think you need to mention sunglasses.
Oh, yeah. Well, like the autobiography? That sounds so narcissistic.
No, but I think it's...
It was very helpful. It was interesting because
Well, talk about when you started writing that, when you finished it.
I started writing Sunglasses. So Sunglasses is the name of, technically, it's Sunglasses Volume 1, because I'm not dead yet. Comes from a place of it's my autobiography, part of it at least. I have not written anything past it. But it's the goal of it was very dark. But the second goal of it was to give an explanation of why I became who I was, at the very least, at the end of high school. And I started writing it at the end of junior year, going into senior year of high school. And it took a while because I started, like, the timeline was, like, I started from writing from, like, where I was in 8th grade to the end of junior year, which made sense because that's where I was at that point. And then I graduated, and then I kept on writing it, and I really made it a more cohesive book for storyline to give more perspective. And it took a while. It took a lot of editing and took a lot of trial and error, and then I finally was able to print it on one copy because I'm not releasing that.
There's just one copy of his autobiography.
One copy, indeed.
We have it.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
Yeah, but I feel like that's pretty important.
Yeah.
I've read it.
Yeah.
I'm one of the few.
Yeah.
But it's a composition of your life, and I feel like that takes a lot of drive and consistency to be able to actually write that all out and edit it.
Yeah.
All of that.
Well, it's something that I don't necessarily recommend to many people to edit it. I do recommend people on some level write like a form of an autobiography to understand themselves better, but also, like, you don't have to, like, release it or make it as intense as it was for me. I wanted it to be like a piece of art, and I believe I achieved that, but it took a while for me to, like, get it to where I thought it was readable.
Yeah.
And releasable, even though I know I wasn't going to release it at all.
For sure.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So that's Sunglasses.
Yeah, pretty intensive. Probably took a couple years to write in total.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's that thing.
And you're
right there.
working on volume 2.
Yeah, I've had a running list of important events as they have happened, because I didn't have that for volume 1. And so I wanted on some level to have, like, a list of events that I could choose from to write about, so I wouldn't forget, and I could put input from a, like, hindsight 2020 perspective versus me just being like, well, like, these are all my scars versus, like, these are happy events, these are sad events, blah, 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 stuff like that.
Weren't you wanting to wait until you got married to write volume 2? Well, that happened already.
Yeah. Sooner than I thought. I thought I had a couple years left at the very least, but God was cooler than that.
Yeah.
Like, I got you a partner.
I mean, you've got a crap to the stuff to write about, though.
Yeah,
from last one to now. So
there's a few. I'm wanting to call it sinusoidal, which is a sine wave, for anybody that's like a music nerd, but basically like a up and down wave, which to me is like what it's going to become pretty intensively. And I haven't updated this in a bit, since October 23rd, 2025.
Wow.
Need to add the wedding there. Bunch of things. But
anyway,
yeah, that's
enough
the whole
with
thing.
that.
I'm too busy to think about that personally right now, but we'll see.
Other big part of your life is your drums.
Mm-hmm.
But that kind of started off with a weird rocky start. Do you want to kind of talk about?
Rocky in what way?
Well, because when you first started doing drums, you fell out of it for a bit.
That's true. Yeah. I'll describe that story. So I started. I've always wanted to play drums more than I wanted to play film or do film, however you want to call it.
Play with a camera.
Play with a camera. Technically, I started drums right before I started filming. It was like weirdly very close together. And not to get into too much detail, because I'd rather not, but I took a ton of drum lessons, and then like in like 4th or 3rd grade, I want to say 4th, but I'm not sure. Somewhere around there was like a music video or song that I will not disclose, that
Yeah, you don't get to know.
that basically, like I was like, I forget what the age was, probably around 8 or 9. That scarred me. I don't know how else to say it. That
It's just a pretty uncanny.
Yeah, it was something that my little brain couldn't
video.
comprehend it. Like right now, I'd be fine if I hadn't seen it in so early in my life. But it's like one of those things. Like when you're scarred so deeply, so quickly, it's like you can't shake that. At least not quickly.
And that was your drum lessons teacher.
That was my drum lessons teacher. Nothing wrong with Gerald, which is his name. Very nice guy, super sweet, very helpful. Helped me to get to where I am today. I don't regret anything except for that day. But because of that, I did like a couple lessons after that. Then I literally just quit drums for 4 years because I just didn't want to drum because it reminded me of the song and the music video and the whole thing. I didn't like it. And so eventually, 2 times I was recommended this band, Twin Pilots, first by a friend in my small group called Charles Cash, and he recommended the song Ride to the whole group of the small group, and I was like, that's a weird reggae song. I don't know if I like that. And so I dismissed it. And then I was recommended the song Stressed Out by 21 Pilots by my sister Mary Elizabeth, and I was like, oh, this is actually kind of a cool song. I'll give it another shot. And so from then on, it was like there's starting to be like a letting go of the hurt that I had from the song.
And a growing obsession with Joshua Dunn.
And then I finally got electronic drums again. All of it started to kind of like domino back into me going into drums again. And then I just started to like really want to learn all the songs of Twin Pilots, which made me want to learn all the songs that I love to listen to, especially that I think are drum centric. And so that, like from freshman year of high school on, this was really when I started to go back into what drums were for me, which was a great place to express myself without words. And in like summer of like either my gap year or like a year before my gap year, my siblings, specifically my brother, had a VR headset that had this game called Beat Saber, and my brother and my sister were both very good at it. I wasn't very good at it, by good I mean I was not as good as them, and they knew what they were doing. I didn't know how, but they figured it out. And there was one song called "Overkill" by Riot, which is like an EDM band, and they were able to play it on like Expert Plus, and I couldn't. But I was like, I think I could play this on the drums though, which to me was more impressive. And so, for months I practiced a song, like I got it like half speed, then like a quarter, like 3/4 speed, and then 90% speed, 95, 100%, then 105%, 110%. But in that time, I like adopted working out because I hadn't really worked out at all, like intensively or specifically until that point. I didn't have the stamina to do that song, unfortunately. And so I got together with my friend Jack Tansey, and it was 2019 going into 2020, and I was like, yo, I want to cover this song Overkill by Riot. I can't do it now, but I think I will be able to eventually. So I want to make like a whole drum cover series so that you can film it if you want, or somebody. Basically, we can both learn together how to make good drum covers look good. And I also want to figure out how to like program lights, but I still haven't figured that out yet. So we're just going to use these big old map boxes, and I'll figure out the lighting later. And so he was very, very open to it, and was open to it for a long time, much longer than I ever thought he would be. He's very, very sweet about it. I feel very indebted to him by it.
And didn't that go through your UNT years
it did.
as well?
Yeah. It was weird because for you can actually so if you look at the YouTube channel is Atlas Drums. Doesn't really matter. But if you look at it,
shameless plug.
But if you look at it, you'll see a timeline from Hero Over My Head, which is the first song that we started with, to Stigmata, And from Stigmata to Mr. Brightside, there's a chunk of time that we actually didn't get to film any drum covers because COVID and stuff like that was happening. So my dad was like, no, he cannot come over. And I'm like, all right, fine. And so I think for like a few weeks, if not months, not too long, but enough time that we just didn't do drum covers a lot. And in Mr. Brightside, you can kind of tell that I'm like really happy that we're back. And so, so I was really happy about that. So anyways, we go from there, and then eventually, on the song Sex by the 1975, I, bought the lights that I wanted, and figured out how to program them via DMX and timecode to the song. So I didn't have to have somebody just like hitting the cues every time I wanted them to hit the cues. I made it automatic, which is really awesome. And then the Overkill Riot drum cover came out. We filmed that, and I was very shocked that we were able to do it. But I was like, "This is awesome! This is great!" One of the most viewed drum covers that I've done so far. About 5,000 views. Very happy about that. Drum covers are not very popular on YouTube, so I'll take it where I can get it. But yeah.
But then you started an obsession.
Yes.
Which meant you had to just keep going.
Well, I was like, I got a lot out of doing the drum covers.
I think Jack did too.
I think he did as well. I made sure that he was in on what songs we would do. That's the one thing for any filmer, which she is my filmer now. But for anybody that films for me, I want them to be pretty happy about the songs that we're doing. And I knew for him, just as a director, I'm like, if he didn't like the songs that I'm doing, his movement, the way that I want him to move throughout all the covers, will not be nearly as involved as for a song that he didn't know versus a song that he would know. And so for Volume 2, I specifically called on him for us to collaborate on songs of making the set list so that we would like it both pretty equally. And so that was really cool.
Yeah. Something else to note, the 318 character that you created back in high school to announce Random Space Wars Part 5.
Yeah.
You actually took that character to be your announcer for drum cover series.
This is true.
Your YouTube channel.
I hired him to do other things.
Yeah, he hired 318 to do, which is really just you not really having the personality to get behind a camera, and you're like, but I can come up with a character who has a personality to be behind a camera.
I'm a theater kid at heart, and I need that. I need those glasses on me. So we had Volume 1 was all centered around Overkill. It wasn't. I don't think it was ever called Volume 1. It was just called Volume. Whatever it was. I called it Volume 1 eventually. And I was like, all right, let's do a Volume 2. And then let's do a Volume 3. So there was a lot of work that we put into these videos. And specifically Volume 3 was a lot because it was like 4 or 5 locations. I think the 5th location's the last cover. And I remember I like basically made like a whole like movie premiere, quote unquote, and made like a whole live stream. It was a whole thing. It was all pre-edited, but I like released it all at once, and then I released it concurrently for each cover. And we did so many different locations. It was so much work. It was too much work for what it was, but it was fun. It was really cool, and I was really happy with it. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, but yeah, and then. As we continued throughout the series of Atlas drums, we're in UNT at this point, and we did like a bunch of mini series. We were actually supposed to. This is a little unknown fact for most people, not that anybody would care, but for Volume 4, which has never been made yet, which TBD at this point. Years pushed at this point, but there was I was going to Watermark at the time, and I was drumming for Watermark at the time. Yeah. And I was friends with one of the singers, which I will not name because he's not a bad guy, just not a great situation overall. Honestly, I own a lot of what went wrong. But the short of it is I wanted to utilize the certain room with light fixtures that I knew I could program.
Like a B stage that they had.
Yeah. And so I asked him if I could use it. He said, sure. And what he didn't realize is that at the time I didn't have a 3D visualizer, which it's not like he was assuming that part. He just didn't assume that I was going to utilize a lot of days to use that space to program the lights for that B stage. because I didn't have a way, at least at the time, to visualize or previs on my computer. And so there was one day where I forgot to replug the light cable in to their controller, and so that kind of screwed it up one day, and he knew that it was me. And then a bunch of things went down, basically from you had the location, and like I was like programmed for like 3 months straight, to him calling me like as I like have like 2 songs to program, and he was like, hey, it's a no now. Which was so soul crushing to me. Looking back on it, I shouldn't have done what I did, and I should have just done it on my own. But that took a hit for me, I'm not gonna lie. But I was like, no, I told Jack, I was like, no, we're still gonna make covers. I swear, I will die if we stop making covers. And so I had a mindset of like, let's do a bunch of mini series. And so we first, I'll pull up the playlist because they're all named. But we did a bunch of them. We did Drum Covers Fun, which was just a bunch of pop songs. Drum Covers Solemn, which was a bunch of sad boys.
Didn't have much drums.
No, but it was fun. I like those. We had Drum Covers Musicals, which was probably the most out there that we've ever done when it comes to series. Then we did a Drum Covers Nothing But Thieves series, which is a band called Nothing But Thieves. And then we filmed all of those, from Drum Covers Fun to Drum Covers Nothing But Thieves, for like in like a span of a week, which is insane to think about too. It's a lot of videos. So it's like 10 plus 8 plus 12 plus 12. So whoever wants to do the math on that one, that's how many there were. And so basically we did that in a week, and then I had content for a year basically. I just remember that being a big point in my head. And then I didn't make drum covers for a bit after we finished filming that. And so the last drum cover for that was Your Blood by Nothing But Thieves. And then a year passed, and 21 Pilots released another album, specifically another song called Overcompensate. And I was like, that's a really cool song. I want to do that song. And so within a week, I gathered a bunch of people and I practiced the songs. And this was at the time I was already graduated from UNT, and we did a whole drum cover recording session. The miniest of series, honestly. Yeah. It was 4 songs, and we recorded them like near downtown Dallas. It was actually really, really, really fun. But it was also like, I could tell that there is still a drive here, but because I had to like pay bills, I really couldn't justify it for that reason alone. And so for another year-ish, I didn't record drums. And then after that, after Liv is now introduced into my life at this point, I started to reminisce with her. I was like, I like recording drum covers.
And I was like, if you taught me how to work a camera, I could work a camera for you for free.
I'm like, say less.
Yeah.
I was like, you have me at free. Let's go.
Yeah.
And so from there,
I can be your Jack replacement.
Like straight up.
Yeah.
And for her first cover, she did a great job. And so I was very pleased with. So like we created a list of songs that I could cover. So and then we covered them, and then we released them every month or so, I think. We took a while. It was every week. Was it every week? I think it was because of the summer thing. I did the month thing for the 4 miniseries, and then the 5.
It was a summer
or 6
series.
It was a summer series, and then I waited way too long, and then I was like, all right, cool, we just got to release all these because I'm gonna miss my opportunity.
Yeah, because we recorded it at the beginning of June.
Yeah,
and then we started releasing them end of July, going into August.
Yeah, it took beginning of August.
Oh.
Actually, end of August.
End of August.
Yeah, I knew I was pushing it to the brim.
September.
I was at the brim. I was like, we are not in
summer it's not really.
Anymore.
It doesn't feel like summer.
This ain't summer. But I was like, I don't want to wait till next year. So I was like, screw it. Let's just start releasing them.
Yeah.
And I was also like engaging you at that point. There's a lot of things going on.
There's a lot of stuff happening.
But good.
That being said, we're in the works for our next drum cover series, which is just going to be a mini series.
Yeah.
We're supposed to be doing that the next couple of weeks.
Yeah. We will.
And hopefully, and hopefully after that, we could start to get into some sort of rhythm of recording and figuring out what that looks like.
I think it's very possible, which is what one thing is this one aspect has changed everything for me, which is so my lights. I love to program lights for my drum covers, and I've not been able to do that without plugging my lights in every time to program the lights until now. I found this program called what is it called? Capture 2025, which just when the year it came out doesn't matter the year.
Capture.
It's called Capture Visualization specifically. Highly recommend if you're like me, which you're probably not, but if you are, it is a beautiful program.
Future Atlas is going to be watching this it's like you don't even
he didn't even know. It's just probably, I hope, very true. But at least in this point in my life,
he's like, AI programs my drums.
AI now does the thing.
Yeah.
But at least currently I do them, and I'm able to completely program them on my laptop instead of setting up all the lights and the configuration so I can visualize it. And then he can plug
in his laptop and do it all.
Yeah.
Test it all later.
And it's and that's how most LDs, as in light directors for concerts, usually do it, because for like...
It's like if you could have just done that with the watermark thing,
it would have been easy, because you would have utilized one night at that point, but we're past that at that point. Yeah. we're not doing that. We're gonna be smarter with this. But anyways, I was able to do that, and so that was right after a pretty good margin after this series, which was the last series that we did, and the last cover that we did was End of Beginning by Joe, and so but that's that.
Drums.
That's drums. That's a lot more than Kaz probably asked
for. It's okay. So next I want to hop into your collegiate film career up to now.
Yeah.
Which he had a lot of short films that he did throughout his experience at UNT. Things. And a couple of other things after that. I mean, not a bunch after that.
Yeah.
But
there's a few. There's a few. There's like a bunch. I'm just going to go through the names, and I can specify if I care.
I didn't realize Initiation Night was your first one you did at UNT.
Yeah, that's probably not true for the record. This is a curated list of what I would give people of if I had to give them a link. Okay. So all of these are linkable for the record. Did a bunch of little films in near the end of freshman year. All right, I did UNT in 3 years, so we're just going to go by numbers. So the first year, I didn't do too many, and then the second year did a lot more, and that was Initiation Night. I think that's where we start, which was on the latter end of year 2, because that's 2022, so that makes sense. Yeah. So we have Initiation Night there, and then we have Blood Ties, which is going to my third and final year, which is my least favorite film of all time that I've ever made. I'm not even kidding.
I don't know if I have seen Blood Ties.
I don't know if you have. It's dumb, is what it is. It's something.
We're watching it after this.
Probably at this point. It's totally on me. It was the first and only film I've ever directed but didn't write, and probably the most emotionally and intellectually unavailable I ever was to direct a film. And I have heavy regret for that film, just because like I said before, I wasn't fully present, and there was actually a bunch of people there that were crew. There was it was the first fully delegated set I was ever on, and so I was very lazy, and it was technically a favor to somebody, Jacob Evans, to direct, and I should have just said no, but emotionally and intellectually I was just not there. I wasn't there to be able to say no. So, anyways. Thankfully, that's not anywhere. But the next, I'm calling these official films. There's many films in between, but real films. This next one is called Mall, which was for my cinematography class, which was really fun.
That was really cool. That was in the back rooms of a
Golden Triangle Mall in Denton.
Yeah, every time we pass by there, I'm like, that's where
that's the mall.
That's the mall from Mall.
That's Mall from Mall. I'm like,
yeah. Yeah.
And then there's another film after that, kind of happened concurrently. That's the funnier part. It's a different class, called Workers on Strike, Santa's Workshop. And that was just a mockumentary with a bunch of friends. And it was probably the film that I had the most fun making, because it was just stupid. It was just a dumb film, but it was in a good way. It was if you watched it today, I hope it would be entertaining. And I liked it a lot. I still like it today. So I writing that. It was fun. Then Mr. Robert, is it Roberts?
Mr. Robert Jr.
Is it just Robert or Roberts?
Roberts.
We're just gonna go. I don't know.
I think it's Mr. Roberts.
I think it's Mr. Roberts. It has to be. Mr. Roberts Jr., which is a take on Mr.
Roberts.
Yeah. Wait, what is it called again?
I think it's Mr. Roberts.
Oh man, I'm dumb now. I'm done. This is bad. Where is it? Come on. Sorry, I gotta check this now. This is bad. You make so many films that you honestly forget names pretty quickly. So let's go to Team Library. Should be here pretty soon. Give it a moment. Almost there. Moments away, friends. Let's see, Mr. Where is it? There it is. Oh, it is Roberts.
That's what I said.
I think it was a take on Mr. Robinson. What is his name?
Mr. Roberts.
It can't be that. It's not that though. Like it's like the guy that no, not this. What is this?
Mr. Roberts' neighborhood. Beautiful day for a neighbor.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Beautiful day.
Mr. Rogers.
Mr. Rogers, that's what it was.
Oh my gosh.
Man, that was like a Mandela effect right there. It's like, which one came first?
Yeah, it was a take on Mr. Rogers,
yeah.
But it's Mr. Roberts.
Fred
Jr.
Rogers, but Mr. Rogers.
Yes.
Sounds a lot cooler than Mr. Roberts. But anyway, so yeah, we did make that film. Cool thing about that, I did submit it to the UNT Short Film Festival, and it won.
Yay!
It won Best Short Film.
It was a really good short film. I really like that one. That's one of my favorites that you've done.
It's one of the most mature ones that I've done, and I think it looks really good. It sounds really good.
It's one of the easiest ones to follow.
Yeah.
I think,
Yes.
too,
Yes.
As a viewer,
I think that works very. It's
very marketable.
Marketable. It's very contained as a story. Like there's a clear beginning, middle, and end. It's it's funny that it's taken me this long to get there, but it's like all in due time.
It won an award.
It won an award, which I thought I was very honored by. I remember sitting there, like in the audience, because it was like it played, and then they were like giving out the awards, and then like the second runner-up got the award, and like they were like, and so the grand prize winner is, and like one of those times where like I'm about to clap for somebody else, and they're like, Mr. Roberts Jr., and I'm like, huh? That sounds familiar to me. And so it was one of those times where I was like, that's great, because I never won an award for any of my films. So that was really cool. And not that you should do it for the awards, and not saying that necessarily a big achievement. I thought that was really nice. But going out of UNT, or transition from UNT to adult life, there's this film called Datsun, which is a car little montage film with my former business partner, Grayson McTaggart. Really cool guy, very big car guy. He wanted to make a little car cinematic film, and we did that. That was really cool. Not a car guy though. That's why we are not business partners anymore. I didn't want to do cars, and that's all he wanted to do, which I was like, fair. I'm not your guy. Yeah. So found another guy that wanted to do film that's also a car guy, and so I'm glad that's working out. And then there's Carriage. I thought that was a really fun film. Carriage is a piece on a typewriter, and it's about a story of this guy reminiscing on his past relationship and what he could have done differently, basically. And
a little bit harder to follow.
A little bit harder to follow for sure. Kind of tough. It was,
but really cool concept.
It was fun.
If you understand, if you can talk to the creator.
That's true. It's definitely one of those times where you're like, where's the context? Yeah. So that's really helpful. You probably wouldn't have guessed that if you watched it. But after that, I'm graduated from UNT. I'm starting to do more professional stuff, more high budget stuff. And this is not my stuff, but my first PA job was being on the Lone Star Film Festival bumpers. And so I started to see like Arri Alexa cameras and everything, and I was like, "Oh, this is really cool. This is sick. I want to touch these cameras." Yeah. And
I want to really get in there.
I want to do things with that. And so that's interesting. I guess I never really released it until then. How to Build a Home was my last film that I made in UNT, which is my most professionally proud film. If I wanted to show somebody production-wise what I could achieve with a camera, basically.
Yeah.
That would be the most like for the genre and the value that you get. You get a lot out of it. So
You also got access to a really cool camera for that.
great camera. It was the Komodo, red Komodo. Access to great locations. It was funny because most of the film was shot in a house, and at the time I wasn't in a house, and so I was trying to find people that could give me their house, and that was very hard to find. That was not an easy ask for some reason, because I'm like sitting there, I'm like, I've lived at that point. It was like I've lived like 20, 21 years at this point. And you're telling me I can't find one person with a house?
Yeah.
And it was like I found
You will
one.
let me use their house?
It was so funny because it was through Victor Fadul, my good friend. He got me a friend. It was basically a friend of a friend for him, and
who was willing to give you their house.
willing to let me use their house. And they had a newborn at that time, and the newborn was in the house, and so we were very nice with the house. This little tidbit, something you need to know as a filmmaker if you are a filmmaker watching this. If you are going to use somebody else's location, take photos of everything, take photos of the entire location, and make sure, if you can, put everything back exactly the way that it was, if not better. Because if you do that, you might get opportunities. And the reason I say that is, and although I have not used this opportunity, the people that we did use the house from, they said, you guys put back everything so well. You guys were so nice and cordial and respectful. If you ever want like a mansion, like we have, like my father has a mansion in like Preston Hollow, like you can totally use it whenever you want. And I'm just gonna sit there like, I'm a college student. Why would you give me that opportunity? But also thank you.
Yeah. If you ever need a mansion,
yeah, which is crazy.
You can have my mansion.
you just have it. I'm like, that's crazy. I've done nothing right now. But it's just one of those times. You just don't know who's watching. You don't know who you're connected to. You don't know who's watching that person and who's listening to that person. So it's one of those things as a filmmaker. You just gotta have to have the mindset of whenever you're doing that.
Yeah.
So that's how to build a home. It's about a disease for a guy. It's a whole thing. And then another professional set, a friend of a friend of a friend, and recommended me to this. One of those things is a whole connection-based industry, to a Drewski shoot. The Drewski, for the record. There's nobody else. And
Drewski.
it was specifically the bodyguard auditions. It was the most random thing in the world. Got a text from a random guy one day, like 2 days before the shoot, and didn't know who recommended me to him until like a month or two after, and I was able to thank her very much so, and got a lot of connections from that shoot alone, which was crazy, but that was really encouraging, I'll say, as a shoot, because it was like, oh, I'm like not doing much, but I'm being nice and cordial, and people want me to be on their shoots, which is really cool. And from there was like a promo shoot for this company called Nudes.
Oh.
Nuuds.
Nudes.
Not a porn thing, for the record. It's just a clothing thing. I think it's like a Skims thing. I'm not sure. I don't really care. But it was a promo shoot. Got to help with that as a PA, but basically like a gaffer as well. Bunch of other things. None of that really matters in my opinion.
Yeah. The cool thing is he got, because of the Drewski shoot, got connections to start working on Paramount sets.
Yeah.
And you've gotten to work for Landman,
Lioness, The Madison, which is a new show coming out soon.
Which is a spinoff from Yellowstone.
Mm-hmm.
Big things. Those are like the biggest like film sets that are in the DFW area as of this time,
it's
as
Paramount.
of 2026. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
it is wild to see all these sets, because then because
it's like Hollywood level, but it's in
DFW,
which is insane.
Which is really nice. Better commute than LA. And
it's so funny because we'll have like people who will be like, "Have you seen the latest episode of Landman?" And we're like, "No, but he worked on that."
No, but I did meet Billy Bob Thornton, so he's a pretty cool guy. You should check him out. But
Which
stuff like
crazy.
that, where it's like, I think that to me was a big milestone for me again, to be on those sets, and it's going to sound like I'm compartmentalizing or like downplaying what a Paramount set is, and I'm not trying to, but what they do on a multi-million-dollar set like that versus what I would do as like an indie filmmaker making a film is not much different except scale.
Yeah.
and the scale is very important because then you can make a business out of it.
Yeah,
but obviously, but like substance wise, there's not a ton different, which was really helpful for me as a filmmaker and very encouraging again, because I sat there like, it's not not that much different.
I could fill in that role.
Yeah.
But I couldn't.
Right.
But I could.
Like, this is such a learnable skill. This is not necessarily a skill.
It feels like something so up here, and it's like, no, it's achievable.
Yeah.
You do it every day.
100%. These are the skills that I've been learning for years. And like, if you just gave me another week with one of these departments, I could fill in if I wanted to.
For sure.
And it's really awesome. And at that point, it really showed me that. And it's one thing to be told, it's like, it's such a connection based industry or networking kind of industry, versus like being on set and being like, I could do that, but I just don't know enough people or the right people to talk to get to there, which is really helpful. It's like, it's kind of discouraging, but it's also encouraging, because you're like, if I just talk to enough people, I probably could get somewhere.
Yeah.
So, which is really helpful, knowing, especially if you talk like as a person who has done virtually every job except makeup and hair department. I've talked to enough of these producer level people, and they're not like much better. Like, they're not bad. Like, they're really good people. They're really awesome. They're very skilled, but it's like, I'm like expecting like the Matrix to come from them. And I'm like, they're just doing the thing.
Yeah.
They're putting it on a tripod, make sure it's level, make sure the exposure's right, get the audio levels correct, and make sure all the lighting looks good. And then make sure the actors know what they're saying. And then like make sure, and like the funny part too is like, so there's this thing called a DIT, which is called a digital image technician. It's a glorified way to say file copier. They have their whole computer set. It's like it's a full thing, for the record. But they have that plus a bunch of SSDs, which is like hard drives, and they drag all the footage from the SSDs from the cameras to their SSDs, and they back it up, and then that's what they do. And that's the funniest thing to me, because I'm like, they're using the SSDs that I use. And I'm like, I would think there'd be some other product that they'd be using on some level, but I'm like, no, that's all that's available, and that's all that you need for something like this. And I always thought that was so funny.
Just makes it more tangible to you.
Because I'm like, you're just using stuff that I know I could use, and I know I could rent out if I really, really wanted to.
Right.
And if I had the money, and so that's something that I kept learning through these shoots.
Which is awesome.
For Paramount, because I was just like, you're not doing anything much different. It's just bigger scale, and you have more people that are more recognizable.
Yeah.
Which is a lot. That's a big difference, for the record. I know that. And like I said, I'm not trying to take it lightly, but it's also like, you're also just kind of riffing it too.
Right.
You don't really know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Like, you have the skill to make it look good, but you're still just kind of like, well, what if we'd use this shot? Or what if you use this shot? You can just kind of see in the production, you're like, it's just filmmaking, but like, you're just burning more cash.
Right.
And so I think
it just costs more.
It just costs more.
Yeah, you just have the cooler tools.
Yeah, the cooler tools, and you have
people.
more distribution. Like, that's kind of it. And I think that's what's really cool, because for me, I always found my contentment from filmmaking in making a good story, something that I would want to rewatch. Right. Same thing with my drum covers. Same thing with my music. I always came from a place where I just want to be able to love it myself, because I always had a very innate belief that if I loved it, then I have a good chance that other people would love it as well. Filmmaking was a lot harder a skill to learn, and still I'm learning every day, just because it takes a lot of people to do it right. But I think I got to certain points, like say with Mr. Roberts Jr. Like, I got to a point where I was like, all right, this works. I started to see like the patterns of what made a good video, what made a good short film, what made a good feature film. And for what we're doing right now with Annex B and the film that we're developing, it's like we're like analyzing so much story, because I know personally for me, I'm like, to make a feature film versus a short film production-wise is no different, except it's just lengthier. You're just doing more days versus like a couple of days shoot for short films. It's
like, we just need to know every single in and out of every single detail of every part, so that we can tell that to somebody who is skilled enough to translate that on screen, aka an actor.
Yeah.
And then we can translate it to editing, making sure that we have everything,
and like I told her before, I think I've said it once on here, but I'll say it again. It's like for us to develop it correctly means that we can really streamline what needs to be done or what needs to be invested into, so that when we're creating what we're creating, we're not going into it blind and we have to do reshoots or anything like that. If we plan it and we storyboard it and we plan it enough, like the likelihood of it to be just bad or fail straight up is very low versus if we were to do it how I did it in middle school and then plan nothing. And then we'd like, let's just shoot a film, and then it doesn't work.
Arguably kind of like that with Black Box too.
Sure. Yeah. It's very similar.
What I've noticed after analyzing your films and stuff is that you've got a big creative mind that's able to go a million different ways. And so when you create something, you want to make something nobody's seen before.
Yeah.
But because you go that direction, if you don't think, if a normal person was watching this, what would they think of this?
Yeah.
Sometimes it has that little bit of there's an error when the normal person is watching it with like, I can't compute what is happening right now. I mean, it looks cool, but I'm just a little confused how we got here.
Yes.
And so I think that's why Mr. Roberts Jr. Did so well, because it was such a simple story.
Yeah.
You know how to do all of the things.
Yeah.
But because it was easy for the person to follow, same thing with How to Build a Home. I think that's also a really great,
it's simple.
easy to follow.
Simplistic.
There are some parts where I was like, wait, what happened? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But it's like, as long as you make it to where it's like the viewer can understand what's happening, then that's when you've made a good film.
100%. If they have a good time too, which is also making it followable.
Yes. And I think the fact that you're taking your time with this new film that you're making right now, and really breaking apart all the things, asking all the questions, open to changing things if it doesn't make sense, and willing to let some things go for the
sake of the movie.
For the sake of it being followable. Yeah. So
just, a crazy thought. Who would have thought to like take that time to make a good story?
Yeah.
Stranger Things.
Yeah. As far as like big productions go, that's kind of where, and Paramount's where you've fallen at this point. You've also done a couple of smaller projects, Beautiful Ashes in the past year.
Bunch of Beautiful Ashes stuff, bunch of Merge,
which is
Texas
my
Windows and
family's
Doors and
company.
stuff. Did some stuff editing wise for AMS Studios, for some corporate stuff and some narrative stuff. And it's just like
some stuff with your dad's company he was starting to launch.
Very true.
Just like some smaller businesses, and I say small, they're kind of large.
Yeah.
But like in the
multi-million
Hollywood to Merge.
It's like a very different scale for sure.
It's a lot smaller.
They're trying to save money there.
Yeah. So it's that's kind of where you've gotten so far, film wise.
Yeah, I've just kind of been like a sponge in the last couple of years, because
transitioning from creative to business.
Yeah.
And then trying to figure out where creative falls. Now in your life, because I know you have a heavy desire to create visual experiences for people. And audible experiences for people as well.
100%.
And so trying to figure out what that looks like, and thankfully you've got someone to bounce your ideas off of now who actually cares to listen. So
yes.
That's really cool.
Very good change of pace.
To segue into our last bit, you like to make audible experiences.
I do
as well.
I'm a big ear guy.
Yes.
If you know me on indie level.
Well, I think that's actually something worth mentioning right now, because we're kind of transitioning into talking about Annex B and how that started.
I don't need a laptop for that.
No.
I know it right here. Fresh on the brain.
But something, little known fact about Atlas is he has this condition called misophonia, which makes some sounds really difficult for his brain to process, and they can be triggering in certain senses where it's harder for him to control his reactions to
they cause a fight
peeving songs. Sounds.
They cause a fight or flight response in certain frequency spectrums, specifically transient stuff. It's not necessarily just like a tone. It's context plus tone, and it's so weird because it's something I've never I know it's a very separate voice to me. It sounds like me, but learned over the years of what it actually sounds like. And it basically sounds like the devil being like, all the intrusive thoughts that you could think happen would happen in these moments. And it makes it very hard to self-soothe.
Burn it with fire.
Basically, yeah. like cut your finger off. Like, that's crazy. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, but I was going to say, because of his misophonia, you have a very interesting relationship with hearing and with sound and with audio in general.
Yeah.
Which is very interesting that he's so drawn to it in a musical sense.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of songs that are very irritating to your misophonia.
Sure.
And there are other songs or sounds that are a lot more soothing to it.
I was watching, this is interesting. I was watching the movie called The Ultimate Gift. Older movie. So I think it was either made in the 90s or 2000s. And I don't know what recording process this is. I'm assuming they were literally recording to tape, but it's a very sensitive medium. And they also used a lot of ADR. And there's a lot of mouth sounds in the recording of the dialogue. And there's this one actor, an African-American fellow, one of the main actors. And he has a big old mouth. And it sounds terrible to me. And I'm just kind of sitting there like, I really want to be in this movie, but could you stop talking, please? But stuff like that, where it's like, it's so specific and niche that I don't even know. It's so
But I
weird.
also feel like it's somewhat kind of a gift, because
it's a gift and a curse. It's oversensitivity to sounds.
Yes.
So in the same way that I have issue with other sounds, I have elation with others, as in like euphoria, if you will. Not like in like a, lack of a better term, orgasmic kind of way, but more in like a, oh, this is like really cool. Same way like with my visuals, like I'm a very visual guy. Like in the same way I don't like bad visuals, I love great visuals.
Yeah, but it's a whole other plane when you're dealing with this condition.
Yeah.
So something cool is that when you make your own music, or when you edit your own audio from drums or from your movies or that kind of thing, you're able to use your ears to make it sound as smooth and pretty as possible, which most people wouldn't be able to notice that much of a difference.
A lot of people have to either use references, which I do a lot for the record, or they have to go to school for it and be taught it. I'm fully self-taught on the YouTube University route for Logic and mixing and producing. And for me, it was a very natural, like I always knew it was interesting. I made a ton of songs that were apart from scores that I was like, these songs aren't good. I kind of knew that in my head. And eventually...
When did you start making songs?
I started making songs in like junior year of high school.
Okay.
And
around the same time you started doing scores.
Yeah. And it was like just little stuff, like little. It would sound like stock free music.
Yeah.
It wouldn't sound like anything that would be specific or with like a tone or a sound that would be recognizable, like for Annex. And then I made the song Remain, or I started to make the song Remain, and I was like, that's really cool. Something about that works for me, and I just for I don't know how I was able to be sensitive enough to know that it was the sound that I wanted. But in the same way with film, there was just like a way and a texture that I loved from what I was making, and compositionally wise too, that I was really enthralled by, to the point where I was like, all right, that's the feeling that I need to have with all my music. And it took a long time, because I still sucked at production, and I debatably still do. But from trial and error, I was able to create a whole album from having that litmus test of, does it hit for me or does it not? And having basically no parameters, but knowing that in my heart I would know. And I think a lot of that came from misophonia, because I know what I would like to hear, and having
definitely wouldn't like to
being
hear.
particular about those sounds made it very easy to know what I didn't like. It wasn't obvious what I did like until I knew that I just didn't hate it, and then it became a love. But yeah, that was always very important to mixing and audio for me.
Yeah. So talk about Annex now. How you mentioned Remain, but like how those songs started off and how you ended up making all of what is Gone, Oblivion, and Desire.
Yeah.
That is not all out yet, but
It's coming.
yeah. But I think it's important to kind of lay out the roadmap of that before it is out in the world, so we have some sort of documentation of it.
Annex B was a mistake. In the way that like Random Space Wars was a mistake. I'm very good at deriving meaning from something I didn't necessarily mean to have meaning. And Gone is a great example of that, because I made that EP kind of with a mindset of like, oh, I'd love to do this performance thing, because I wanted to perform on stage and I wanted original music to perform too. And so I made that EP, and I think I performed it like a couple times, and I just wasn't ready for it, so I stopped. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna have my head down, and I'm gonna make an hour's worth of songs, so that I'll always have some kind of discography to choose from songs that I love that are mine, so that whenever I have that, I can start performing again. And I wanted to do that. What I did not realize was how long it was going to take to make those songs, because, like I said, the litmus test was I needed it to hit for me. Specifically, I needed to love the songs, which for me is a very hard thing to make, actually. Or at least at the time. It was very hard for me to pinpoint what that looked like. And so producing wise, it was just like a master class of like, how do you make a song good? How do you make a song that you like? How do you make a song? And how do you sing? How do you produce? How do you play piano? How do you play guitar? How do you play so many of these instruments? And how do you make them all coalesce into a piece of like an audio file that you want to put on your playlist? That was like a big thing that I wanted. And I believe I achieved that, because I love the album that I created, but it took a while to create all of it, for a lot of reasons, mainly because I was trying to find the meaning of why I would even want to create an hour's worth of songs. I didn't want to just create an hour's worth of songs, but like, all right, cool, they're all disconnected, but I have an hour's worth, and there you go. I was like, no, I literally wanted to make an experience, an auditory experience from front to back, continuous album, no cuts, that all cohesively told a story. At the very least, auditorily, like you could feel the energy curve very, very nicely, like a good story. Mm-hmm. At the very most, auditorily and lyrically, as in lore-wise, there would be a story connecting through all of it, which is what the movie is becoming right now. And I knew at the end of the day, I wanted it to be a vibe throughout, and I wanted it to be so very dynamic. I wanted it to really emulate my heart, honestly, of like what I like to feel through an album. And I like to think I achieved it, because I liked it. I didn't show it to anybody until I had songs that I liked. And I want to say I really semi-finished it like in 2022, 2023. And I showed it to my friends, Blake and Rosie, and they helped me to curate a little bit more, and more importantly with the vocals, just edit the vocals just a little bit better. Mm-hmm. And then I showed it to you, and then from that point on, it was just like us planning of how do we release this well. Before you showed it to me, you told me I have this whole album that you don't know about, but I haven't mastered everything yet, so you don't get to hear any of it until I've mastered all of it. I was like, that's really gay. You're like homosexual, that is. And you were like, no, but like I genuinely, like, I don't want you to hear it. I think it'll incentivize me. I can't show it to you until I've gotten it done. I'm like, I promise you this is worth the time for you to wait a little bit. Yes. And it was just taking a while, and eventually I was like, hey, drop everything and do it. I said, what if, because I know you're working on other things right now, but you don't have anything professional going on at this current moment. Yeah. I said, what if all you worked on was this? Yeah. And I told you, I said, I bet you could get it done in a week. And you were like, there's no way I'd get it done in a week. I was like, this will take at least a month. You said maybe a month. Yeah. And after a week, it was like 5 days. Yeah. It was like 5. After a business week. After a full business week. Yeah. 3 to 5 business days. Yeah. I was like, it's done. And you're like, I was like, and what did I say? And what did I say? And so that's always true for any creative ever. It's never as long as it should take, or it's way longer than it should take, depending on what it is. It's just a lack of locking in. Oh, 100%. Is what it is. 100%. Yeah. But I was able to finish it, which was really awesome. We got into your car one night and sat down, or maybe my car. a car.
We were gonna go into the SMU East Campus building, but it was locked.
It's true. It's very true.
So we couldn't get in there, and so we ended up parking on the roof of a parking garage at SMU.
At SMU.
Yeah, and just sat in the back of this car and
just listened to it.
Yeah,
she had her headphones on, and I had mine, and you had a very good experience, to my knowledge.
Yeah, I cried.
She cried at the very end. She was like, "This is amazing." I'm like, "Oh my gosh, this is like the best reaction I could have asked for." Because it's one of those things you're like, you're my girlfriend right now. I know you're probably inclined to want to like this right now. And I try to reiterate.
What if I was crying because I didn't like it?
That would have been so tough right there.
Man.
But I try to tell her, you, and I hope she heard it, that I was like, you don't have to like this. Like, I get that it's specific. I get that it's mine. I get that you want to like it, but don't think you have to. And you were like, that's amazing. I'm like, yay.
I'm glad you like it. I do too.
Now we can do things together about it. Yeah. So that was very helpful. But that was a pretty big pivotal point in Annex, because after that, it was us. After that, it was like kind of like waiting a little bit, because there was like a bunch of times we tried to do content and I was like, no, I want to do the marriage thing first. And then we did the marriage thing first. And then we
took about a month or two to get settled. And then we were like, okay, we've got to figure this out.
Now we got to full send this thing.
So I think one of Atlas's favorite things, you said that when you first started making films, it wasn't to make it, it was to star in it, to be an actor.
Yeah.
Atlas has always been a very performative kind of guy, and you should just see him in that type of role when he has a microphone, when he's in the spotlight. He just glows and beams like it's exactly what he needed to do, exactly what he was made for. And I can vouch for this, as he was the star of our wedding dance floor, and I've seen his concert videos. And anyway, his hope and desire is that eventually Annex would be big enough to be able to play it in front of people who would actually care enough to sing it back to him and dance and have fun with it. And right now, our goal is to put it out there enough to where there are people who could potentially want to do that, could latch onto it.
Yeah.
And truth behind that is, it may not happen. We may not get traction, and that's okay.
Because we're going to make this, and then we're going to make the movie, and then we'll see.
And then we'll see what happens after that.
No
Hopefully you're
guarantee.
creatively inspired in some other way during that time, as well as I want to work on this next. But that's kind of our plan as of now, is to just really full send Annex, what you currently have, what's not out, get it all out, put it all out there, make this movie, have a release party after the whole album's out where we invite all of our friends and family, and if anybody has been picked up along the way, send them an invite.
They can come through.
Yeah, please come through. Yeah, and then kind of going from there. But we're about a month into posting content regularly on Annex. I think Atlas is feeling a little bit discouraged because it's not gaining all the traction that you're wanting it to. I told him it just takes time. And honestly, it's kind of in God's hands at this point as well. I think if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. You're doing what you can at this point. And I think you should be proud of it. I think it's really cool to see you actually fulfilling what you said you were going to fulfill since high school. So at the very least, you've got a whole big fan base of friends and family who will be there to support and sing with you in January of next year.
Oh yeah.
Which will be so fun.
That'll be a fun time.
Yeah. And I'm excited.
Hopefully to sell out wherever we go.
Wherever we go.
I don't even know where that would be.
Get a small venue.
20,
I don't know.
20 max.
But you never know. That's a long time from now.
Yeah, that's a good amount. And we'll see what 12 months of content will look like.
Yeah. A follower a day from now will get you like over 300.
It's a good amount.
Yeah.
It's a good amount. I'm here for it.
Insane. We'll see.
Let's sell out trees. Let's do it.
Sell out trees.
I'm kidding. But
it's actually I want to point this out right now, too, as we're talking about Annex. They actually are up to 19 monthly listeners on Spotify currently, which, by the way, I know that sounds like not a lot. It's not. But
we had 2.
But we had 2, like,
so it's better.
3 months ago, maybe.
Yeah.
So
there was not a lot.
There has been some sort of increase in streaming
There
at
has
the
been
very
growth.
least. So
It's been great.
yeah. So we're just going to keep on chasing the more than 19.
Honestly, yeah.
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 We'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I think honestly, if you keep posting consistently, the worst thing that can happen is it'll grow a little bit. So
yeah. At the very least.
yeah, at the very least.
I think I'll lean probably more towards the sleeping at last kind of career. So sleeping at last specifically is just a guy, and he releases music whenever he wants, but pretty consistently, I'll say. And he finally did he's finally like doing concerts now. He did a concert in Carnegie Hall, New York, and I got to see it with my brother. And he's just been kind of consistently releasing music. Specifically, he does a lot of sync licensing, which is getting music into like TV shows and movies. So there's money there. I don't know exactly how he makes his cash, but he's
also got like the wedding song.
Oh, he's got the wedding song "Turning Page" by Sleeping at Last, and you have Saturn as well. It's a pretty intense song as well. I love that song. But overall, I look at that and I look at like the degrees or like variations of a music career, and not that I necessarily want my whole career to be a music thing, even though I do love music, and if I have to choose, I choose music. I also love film, and if it were to be like some things happen on the music side and then I switch to film side and some things happen there and then I switch to music and that, and I'm like, honestly, that sounds like a really, really cool life.
Yeah.
Overall, if I could just keep on creating and not lose that, that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
So I'm really happy about it. Yeah. And I'm happy that she's here to help me with it. Not everybody has that.
But that is the recap.
That is the recap. That's a lot.
That is the Atlas lore recap of his creativity up until this point.
Yeah.
Which is really freaking sick.
Thanks for coming to the TED Talk, guys.
Yeah, thanks for coming to the TED Talk. Stay subscribed for more content in the future to all the channels. Atlas Drums, Atlas Narrative Media, Golden Sword Films, Off Scot-Free,
Annex B, and in reverse order of importance.
Yeah, in reverse order of importance.
But yeah.
Yeah, stay tuned. But yeah, that's all we got for you today.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
We will catch y'all on the flippity flop.
On the flippity flop. You got it.
Peace.
Peace.